All right. Good evening. Good evening. I am so excited to see you all again. Today is Sunday, July 12th, 2026, and we're back. After we had a couple of technical difficulties, the weather, it was just a myriad of problems, issues, concerns, but we shall not be stopped. We are back. Are you frozen, Pastor Weaver? Because I
I'm
know
here.
you had
I'm
something to
here.
Yeah,
say.
we're here.
I'm
We're
here.
here. I was sharing.
I don't have no feedback. We is back. That's not proper English. We is back.
We're gonna be like the Migos and tell everybody, "Is you ready?" Okay. Well, we are so excited to have you all, and we do ask that you take a moment to like, comment, and most importantly, share. Go ahead and let your friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, let them know that we are here so that they can join in on this important, enlightening, informative conversation. This is going to be another good one, y'all. I don't know if they're ready, but they might as well get ready because it's happening anyway.
We are here. We are here.
Yes. So I'm just going to jump right in. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lean In with CWJ. We're so glad you've chosen to spend part of your Sunday evening with us, whether you're watching from your living room, your office, your car, somewhere across the country, across the world. We thank you for being a part of this incredible journey. Tonight's conversation is one that may challenge us, encourage us, and hopefully stretch us a little.
Mhm.
Our topic is Built for Yesterday: How Faith, Leadership, and Community Must Evolve Together. And let's be clear from the very beginning, this conversation is not about changing your faith. It's not about compromising any type of biblical truth. It's not about abandoning our values. Instead, we're asking an important question. And that question is, are we trying to solve today's challenges with yesterday's strategies? Our communities have changed, technology has changed, communication has changed, the needs of people has changed. So, how do churches, nonprofits, schools, and community organizations remain faithful to their mission while becoming more effective in today's world? That's what we're unpacking tonight. So get your pen, get your, can you see it? Y'all see? I got, you notice I
Yep.
moved up to larger post-it notes because I have so many notes. So get your pen, your post-it notes, invite someone to join the conversation, and don't forget to participate in the comments because we want to hear from you. All right, so let's lean in.
Again, invite someone to come on in. Invite someone to come on in the room. Come on in the room. Reach out to someone. If there's someone that you're connected with that is engaged in local leadership, community leadership, whether it's faith community, it's education community, any type of community involvement. We're going to jump in and have this conversation tonight. I love the way that Dr. Cradle opened us up because I believe, ladies, I believe one of the greatest dangers that is facing not just churches, not just community organization, but anything and organization that serves the local community. One of the greatest things that is facing us today is not persecution.
Mm,
It's the fact that we've become so extremely comfortable with methods that no longer reach people, methods that's no longer serving people. We're in 2026 and we're trying to solve 2026 problems with 1996 strategies.
mm,
We're still using outdated strategies. We're serving a generation that has changed dramatically, but many of our systems, our ecosystem have not changed. If you're in the faith community, the gospel has never changed, but our methods must. People haven't stopped looking for hope in their community. They just aren't looking for it the same way they used to look for it. And so the first question I want to throw on the table for us to begin diving into this is, are churches and local organization trying to meet today's needs with yesterday's playbook?
He just jumped right in, didn't
Let's jump right in.
he? He just jumped right in. But the short answer is yes. Many churches, organizations are trying to solve today's issues with yesterday's strategies. It, it's evident in the way things are happening. So the short answer is yes.
So let's dig a little deeper, right? How are we measuring success? Because many times we measure success by attendance instead of transformation.
Mhm.
I
We
was going to say
continue.
we should really be measuring it by impact.
Who is being transformed or what is being transformed, right? We continue organizing around programs instead of organizing around people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still expecting people to come to us to where we set up shop instead of us intentionally going where people are, where the needs are. If you're a Bible believer, you know Jesus never waited inside a synagogue hoping for hurting people to arrive and to come to him. He walked neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
He sat at tables. He entered, here it is, difficult conversations. I think on this show we call them courageous conversations.
Mm-hmm.
He met people exactly where they are. So while our community are changing, and some of us have changed communities, we have moved to different communities. And what we try to do a lot of times is we try to transform or translate or transpose what we did in our last community in our new community. So I want us to dig in there for a little bit, right? Because what uh, I know Coach Lima can identify with this. When I changed states, what worked for me in Jersey did not necessarily work for me in Georgia. And you
Yeah.
had to learn that the hard way.
Mhm. Yeah.
This in Jersey, you can't go outside in January layered up. In Georgia, we still in the 60s and the 70s.
I was going to say it might be 70 degrees here.
Yes.
Yeah. So work.
So what do we say to those individuals, Coach Lima, who are looking to, and let's talk about it, right? Who are looking to say, I need something new. I'm tired of the area where I am, or the community where I am, or the city where I am, and I need to move to someplace else. And when they find out, especially people that we know, they find out where you are. They're like, "Girl, tell me about that," because I'm getting ready to come out there where you are. What is your advice to those individuals?
Mm,
Um, if someone were to say that, I would definitely try to understand where they are in terms of why do you want to come here? Just the coach in me, I would try to help them to unpack it. Because what I know when we're talking about adopting new things and doing new things, we have to identify where the old stuff that's not working, right? Because we can be very resistant to change. I think
Mhm.
that's just a human condition, and we like to gatekeep traditions and habits and the way that we do things. And we have to say, okay, what is not working? I know when I moved from New Jersey to Las Vegas 23 years ago, I really was at a space in my life where I had come to the end of myself. And I said, okay, this area, there was something within me I was feeling, but I just knew this area no longer serves me. And I didn't even really know the magnitude of what that even meant. I just knew
mm,
I've come to the end of myself in this space, and I knew that it was time to pivot. So there had to just be this fundamental shift in order to do that. That all of that was happening simultaneously. And I don't think when there's change that oftentimes you can always pinpoint everything. But when you're talking about, now you're talking about leadership, and you're talking about leading other people into the newness of something or into change. I think that's something different. But updating any kind of framework is a process of unlearning.
And I think it's powerful that we brought that up, right, about the leadership part and leading, right? Because when we think about leadership, we always think about um, the big picture of leadership, right? But if you're about to transition from one area to another, and are responsible for more than just you, even if you're responsible for just you, that requires some leadership stuff. You're about to lead a whole family and a
Mhm.
whole set of people into a new environment that nobody's never lived in before. And here is where that we're looking to go, right? Not understanding or not taking into account, or are we taking into account that family dynamics have changed, families have changed, right? Mental health has absolutely impacted
Mhm.
our community in our nation. Right? Technology has changed, right? So learning has changed, work has changed. Yet so many of us still function exactly as we did 10, 15, 23, 25 years ago. And so those conversations that we are having with ourselves and with individuals, and even if I'm looking to move out to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm calling my good friend Coach Lima to get Coach Lima take on, oh girl, what is it like living in Nevada? I'm looking to make a change there. Now I'm trying to process it through Coach Lima's lens and not my own set of lens. Because what worked for her may not necessarily work for me there. So how do we dig into that? What are the biggest needs people have today that many churches, organizations, and families are missing?
I think one of the big things that we're missing is a sense of community. I saw something on, I'm not sure where I saw it, but the young lady, there was a young lady whose son was doing a little bit, I'll say he was rambunctious. And the person who went to correct him, the young lady didn't feel like anybody should be able to correct her child except her. And so I think that I know for me growing up, any of my neighbors or aunties, uncles, if I was doing something that wasn't right, they could correct me, and then my mother would come behind and correct me again.
For sure.
But I think the way our communities are set up now, not all, but a lot of them, is that people don't have that sense of connection, so they don't know how. I feel like organizations and churches they don't know how to make the connections so that people can get the support they need in 2026. And I think we have to get back to community. That's one
That's a
one.
missing part within our community, right? Within our lived community, even in our faith community. There was a time when the church used to be um, the pinnacle of the community. It used to be the
Mm,
gathering spot of the community.
mhm,
People are not coming to church today, or in a while, are not coming to church asking, "How do I get to heaven?" You
mm,
know, we're not coming to church asking things. People are seeking answers in our community, like, "How do I survive financially? How do I raise healthy children?
mm,
How do I manage anxiety? God, how do I rebuild after a divorce?"
Mhm.
This one always gets me. How do I care now for aging parents, aging
mm,
family members? Or how do I recover after a loss? How do I navigate social media with my kids and not let them think that it's a punishment? How do I find purpose in life? Those are the questions that people are showing up even in churches and sitting in pews and trying to figure out. Because once I get out of this, whatever we call this service, I now have to go back and do community. So let's define for a little while. Let's talk about community, because one of the things that has happened in community over the years is that we have confused tradition with truth.
Mm,
We have absolutely confused, and it's one of the hardest conversations to have. We've confused tradition with truth. Truth does not change.
right.
This should have this shifting and moving. Right? So are we changing methods? Are we changing how we communicate? So how do we or how should people define or see, or what sort of lenses should we be using to be able to see community?
You said something really important, Pastor, when you were talking about how church connects and everything. And I witnessed some of that the past few. So I remember growing up when church was over. It wasn't really over. Like the service was in, but then you go outside and people they play softball, they had picnics, all of these things going on. And so
Hmm.
to me, that's what helped build the community. That's how you got to know people,
Hmm.
and that's how you got to connect with people. But the way things are now, even like with our jobs, when you go to work and you do your job and then you just go home. So what can we do to make that disconnect not as disconnected? What's I don't know. Um,
I think that starts with a level of self-awareness first for people when you're talking about where people need to connect, because you're going to have some people that want community in church, and then you're going to have some people that don't. So there's a level of self-awareness, that what it is, where you have to ask yourself what it is that I need in my life. What type of community am I looking for? Like for me, I have a lot of family, but I'm ultimately a stay-at-home mother. So I'm very intentional about communities that I'm involved in, whether it's a book club, or whether it's a gathering, of women of empowerment. Um, just understanding what it is that you need, what is it that you're looking for, because that's a good start. I mean, for us to just kind of be, and not to say that people don't need church, that's not what I'm saying, so I don't want that to be misconstrued. But what I am saying is it's very important to understand, or at least be asking the questions: what do I need in my life right now? What do I need from a community? No matter what the community is, what it is,
mhm,
what do I need? What does my family need? Like I have to be intentional about, because my son is homeschooled. Everything we do, the core is from home. So we're
mhm,
very intentional how we navigate that, how we socialize, how we interact, different things that we participate in. But I also think too, with technology, in my opinion, is it's almost replaced human connection, you
mm.
know, in a lot of ways. Instead of, I mean, it's enhanced it, but it's kind of replacing like this human connection. Like, for example, we've been out to dinner, my husband and I, and we're not on the phones and looking, but I'm looking at other people, and
Mhm.
they're literally sitting at a table together on their phones. They're not communicating. And I know I'm supposed to be paying attention to my husband, but I'm like, babe, look, they're not talking to each other. They're just like sitting there on their phones. And so that in and of itself causes a disconnect in community. And I won't say community at large, even community within your own home, even community within your private your private community.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
how do we get away from that?
I think you just said
Well,
two powerful things that shifted the whole dynamic of this show. So this show, all the other script go out the window, because we're going to zero in on these two and deal with these two, and this is how we're going to end this show tonight. Okay, you said two powerful things, right? You said number one, technology has now replaced human connection. We'll come back to that. And then the other thing that you said is, I love the way you said, I'm not saying that people don't need church, because we have said that for generations. We've said that for years. Right? Let's deal with it with technology. Technology did not show up in our lives. Technology did not show up in our workplace. Technology did not show up in our community or in our homes and just had this magic wand and took over. Technology does not have that much authority to just walk in and say, I'm the computer, I'm the phone, I'm the technology, I'm taking over. Right? We as human beings chose, we made the choice to give up our rights to technology.
Hmm.
Technology, if you try to put the phone down, the phone don't say, no, I don't want to be put down today. Right? And so it is that individual choice. It goes back to what you were saying a moment ago, our Coach Liam, about first we have to determine what is it that we want. And once we determine what is that we want, if we are honest with ourselves, it now impacts all of our decision. It impacts all of our choices. It's even going to help where we're going, where we, I hope we will land, is going to impact where we lead and how we identify and select and define now leaders and
Hmm.
leadership. Because for so long, we've always said people need the church. Let me repeat that one more time. People need the church. Hey, everybody that's listening on this show tonight, listen up, especially those of us that go to church. Listen up. People do not need the church. It is not the only place that people can encounter what they need from the kingdom of God. People do not need the church. I'm going to change the vernacular. Don't have your pastor call me. Don't have your minister's friends call me. Don't nobody call me, okay? People never needed the church. It is the church that always needed people. It is the church that have the responsibility to create the environment and to create the atmosphere where people always feel welcome to come in and welcome to exercise their flexibility and their availability. So that helps us now to define what leadership ought to look like. We're now dealing with a new generation that does not respond to authority. They want authenticity.
Hmm.
They're rebellious and they're rude. They want you to be real. And so for them, leadership to them does not look like authority. Leadership to them look like more listening. Leadership to them looks like learning faster. Leadership to them looks like leading differently. People want leaders who are, here it is, number one, accessible.
I was just going to say something about that, Pastor, and hold pin that,
Mhm.
because I was just getting ready to say that if for me, I have to be somewhere where I feel like my pastor knows my name. I can go up to my pastor without somebody, being like they protecting Ti or something. You know how they got all these security with them. I need to be able to speak to my pastor. I need to for him to, like I said, to know my name or something about me. Now, if you got 10,000 members, I get it. You might not remember, but at least recognize me or act like you do, because that's going to make a difference in how I interact with and within the church. Because if I don't feel like I'm seen or heard, I'm just gonna sit back. If I come, if I even come, I'm just going to sit back on the pew and not do anything, not be of service. So I think you're right that leadership is a really big part of the impact that can be had on a community. Because if people don't feel like they can talk to the pastor, and I'm not saying that about anybody, I'm not talking about anybody's pastor. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I have to be able to feel comfortable. And that to me is, again, that sense of community. I have to say, and this is, I'm just telling my experience. my one of the deacons from my church called me. And because my phone, the way it's set up, but he called me, he said, we just want you to know that we've missing, because I haven't been in a couple of Sundays. You all know my mother-in-law passed. And he said, and we've been collectively praying for you. And that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's accessibility. That's that availability. That's that transparency, right? That's honesty.
Right.
That's that being present in the moment.
Right.
And that's what this generation now is looking for leaders. All of us on here are parents, right? If you're not accessible to your child can't even connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so leadership today is not about having all the answers. They're not looking for someone to have all the answers, but it's creating an environment where people can discover hope together, where people can reason together. And so, going back to what you say, Dr. Cradle, and you're better than me, you keep saying, I'm not talking about nobody's pastor, bless you. Right? Because what we call membership of church are really visitors. Because we count the attendance on Sundays. That's not really the church. There are folks who visit the same church Sunday after Sunday, 52 Sundays out of the year. And there's not a church, I tell you, there's not a church, I don't care, you can count it, TD Jakes Church, whoever church. There are churches that are running, yep, I'm going there. There are churches that are running several services on Sundays because you can't hold all of the visitors in one service. But those same churches also have what's called midweek Bible study or small group Bible study. And guess how many they have a week?
25, 50.
One. Because when 10,000 people show up on
How many services
Sunday,
they have? You mean how many services they have on Wednesday?
yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. One.
You got 10,000 showing up on Sundays, but you can barely get 500 in the Bible study on Wednesday. The real church is on Wednesday. That's the church.
Is pushing it. Yeah. Let me just, we had a comment. One of our followers said, I listened to a sermon today that the pastor stressed that we need to build bridges to welcome people over to Christ instead of building walls that will keep them out.
Because community change. And we have to be willing to chisel down the wall of what was that movie that years ago with Oprah Winfrey and Bruce Displays. Remember Bruce Displays?
Yes, when they had to knock down that wall.
And before they even knocked down the wall, remember how many years they just looked at that wall, knowing that that wall was the thing that was keeping hope out and keeping disparity in. Right? And so we are living in a time where we have generations of young people now. They're not looking for all. They're not looking for the collar in the church and want to carry somebody's Bible for them. They're not looking for community members who you have to make appointment just to get to talk to your councilman or your city commissioner or those individuals. But those individuals that are you accessible? That folks can begin to do life. And many of us, again, we're using this outdated playbook and we're wondering why we're not getting the response that we desire to get, is because you're not talking to people, you are planning for people and playing the numbers games. If we can get 200 in the community to sign this petition, we can get blah, blah, blah done. But you haven't even talked to 50 of them.
Yeah.
And when you're out, you have your entourage, or what do we call it in the church? We don't call them bodyguard. What do we call them?
Armor bearers.
The armor bearer. I don't even know what that is.
No, but you said something, Pastor, when you said that leadership, isn't about having all the answers, and like the younger generation, they're not looking for that. But it's a part of leadership, I believe, is also having the courage to ask the right questions, right? So even when we're talking about, I know we're talking about leadership in the church, this can also apply to parenting, right?
Absolutely.
Parenting, bridging the gap between generations. And I say that because I'm 53 years old with an 11-year-old, right? So there's a big generation gap there, right? And the world that he's growing up is very different than the world that I grew up in. And so it's really about, how do I bridge the gap? How do, we stay true to our core values, but how do I bridge the gap? And
Mhm.
asking questions and leaning into his world and understanding his world as he understands ours, and integrating the two, and not even as a leader, because as his parent, we are his leaders, not
Mhm.
this is what it's going to be, this is how it is, right? That's even that outdated way of parenting. That doesn't work, because I said so, or this is just the way it is. It's like, no, now we're asking questions. We're
You
asking
want
him
to know
questions,
why? They
right?
want to know why.
They want to know why. And that
Mhm.
when you explain the why, it teaches critical thinking,
Correct.
because we all need the ability to critically think, and so this applies to home, church, in any arena where there's leadership, and there are people, I won't say following, but maybe sitting under the sound of your voice,
Mhm.
and taking in what you have to say. That's really important, that we don't just get so stuck in our traditions and how we've been so used to doing things, and having a fixed mindset,
Mhm.
that we can't evolve, that we can't grow, that we can't steward the future, and as we all walk into this future, together, because things are changing exponentially, and we have no control over it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's going to keep changing. Right? And
And
so
you
community,
said something else important, Coach Lima. The part about having that conversation when the questions are when they have questions, we do need to have conversations with our children. Um, and you and I, we grew up in a time when if you asked why, you were told what? What was the response?
Because I said so. I said so. Be like,
be
okay.
at
I
child's
said
place.
so. And it's and
Get out of grown folks' business.
oh,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. We could write a whole book on the sayings that we had, we heard growing up. Because I said so, stay out of grown folk business, get in the child's place, all of those things. And I think as we teach our young people effective communication skills, then they're able to ask questions in a way that, because sometimes I think when kids question their parents are taken aback and like, you're questioning my, what I have to say. And it's not that a lot of times they are simply curious. They
Mhm.
just want to know. And
They're
so I think
inquisitive.
they're
And a part
yes.
of that, and a part of that inquisitiveness, a part of that curiosity, going back to what we talked about, that you don't have to always feel like you have to have all the answers. Sometimes you just need to let the question linger. Just sit in the question.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's that uncomfortability, it's that space of, this is uncomfortable and this has to have an answer to it. So what do? We do this as parents. We do this as faith leaders. We do this as community leaders. When in doubt, when we don't know, go back to the old playbook. Go
And
back to
that,
the
yeah,
outdated
that's easy
stuff.
to do.
That's
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 the
the
easy
easy
way
part.
out.
Okay? As long as it is, go back. Well, because I said so. That's played out.
My son
That's
ain't
the way
going
it's
for that.
always been.
My son will tell you quick. I mean, not that we don't do the whole because I said so, but even for him, if there's an answer that he doesn't, and he doesn't have the clarity that he's looking for,
Mm-hmm.
he'll just keep digging.
Hmm.
No, basically, like, no, you didn't answer the question. He's very literal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, okay, so now I have to dig deep and figure out where I'm going wrong. What, why am I not answering it, the way that he desires, or where he has a complete understanding of what I'm saying. But he, and that's another thing, being okay with your children challenging you in that way. He challenges me in that way. And I don't feel incompetent. I don't feel, less than. I embrace the challenge because just as he's learning from me, just as he's learning from my husband and the adults around him, we are learning from him too. You cannot close that off and think we're not supposed to learn from them because he teaches us something every day.
Well, that's like the saying, it's like we don't want to, what is it? We don't want to teach you how to think. What is that saying? But it's like we're not trying to teach you what to think, but we want you to know how.
Mhm.
Process. Go through the
Yeah.
process. And the young
So,
people tell you, I'm overstimulated. That's their go-to thing now, right? And what they're saying is, we're having a discussion, but we are talking on two different pages.
mhm.
Come to my page. Let's answer this question first. And if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Hmm.
Because every time you manufacture a response, they're saying, well, how come that? Well, why is
Mhm.
that? The moment you say you don't know, they're like, well, finally, you don't know and I don't know. We good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our
Make
community,
it sense that you don't know that you
right?
that you're trying to fake it
Well,
till you
we
make
done
it.
it.
I know. My daughter has said that. She was like, "You don't know, do you?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Ain't no faking it till you make it. You either know
I
or you don't. Period.
You don't have a clue,
got
do you?
nothing.
So we just talk through it, and that is what our community is starving of. Our community is starving of leaders who are willing to step up to say, I don't know exactly how to lead, but I'm willing to learn how to lead with you.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us take a part of this need and care and vision for for our community, because the answers to our community's challenges will not be birthed with you, therefore it will not die with you.
Mm. Say that again.
That's
It
good.
cannot be birthed with you, therefore it will not die with you. And if you ever want to know how impactful you are, if something is a great vision that you have, if you get removed from the community or from that thing, if
Mm-hmm.
everything falls flat, then it was never about the community. It was just about you.
Yeah.
That's my wrap up.
Wow. That was good, y'all. That was really good. Before we close out, Coach Lima, do you have any announcements?
No, not this week. No announcements.
Okay. Pastor Weaver?
I don't have any announcements, and I don't want to stir the pot. We're definitely not going to talk about it, but I'm definitely want to say that we are praying for the family and the community of the young African American male Nolan Wells,
Mm.
and what has occurred. Um, I'm not going to rush to judgment, but as I mentioned in my sermon today, I grew up in a time where the rules in our house was whoever you leave with, come back with. Make sure you got your own money to get home. Don't drink nothing that you did not pour yourself. And the rules went on and on and on and on. So we're praying for
Mm-hmm.
that family and for that
Yeah.
community, and that we do not this does not become just another new soundbite,
Mm-hmm.
but communities will step up. So that's all I
Yeah.
have.
Lord, what an incredible, thank you for that insight, Pastor. And what an incredible conversation tonight. Tonight reminded us that while our mission remains constant, our methods should always be evaluated. We don't honor the past by staying stuck in it. We honor the past by building upon the foundation that was laid and prepared for future generations to carry the mission even further. Whether you're leading in your church, your workplace, your school, your business, or your home, ask yourself this question: am I solving today's problems with yesterday's thinking? Growth requires wisdom. Leadership requires courage. Impact requires intentionality. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Lean In with CWJ. And if tonight's conversation challenged you, encouraged you, or made you think differently, do us a favor. Like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us every week on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, and we'll see you next Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. Until then, keep leaning into faith, keep leaning into purpose, and keep leaning into the conversations that help us all grow. Good night, everyone.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everybody.